Lots of details there, but you notice there's one hotel, but there's two ratios. Okay, that is part of the clue. That's saying that the chunks are going to be the same for both ratios because the hotel's not going to build new rooms overnight. Okay, but basically there's a before and an after here. So if you are doing this on your own paper, you would draw the T-chart, and you're going to label it before and after. So on your note page, the one side that doesn't have the question, before and after. Okay? The before is going to be Saturday, and the after is going to be Sunday. I want you to label that as well. Sometimes, like in the next question, it is going to just be before and after. But in this case, the before is also Saturday, and the after is also Sunday. Okay? Every little piece of label that you put in here is important because then you don't get mixed up. All right? So, Saturday night, the ratio of occupied to unoccupied is 2 to 5. Box that ratio for me, please. And then let's draw. It's 2 to 5 on Saturday night. That's where it starts. I would put it down here also in the lower part just because that way you have it, you've pulled it out of the question. And then it's occupied to unoccupied. So I'm going to use O and U. Don't be tricky. Use what they give you to do your labels. And you have to have labels. It's not 20, it's 2O, 2 occupied. Let me fix that so it doesn't look like quite so much like a 20. It's 2 occupied and, bless you, 5 unoccupied. Okay? So far, we've pretty much done the type diagram exactly the same. We're going to draw, remembering to keep our squares the same. You're going to have to kind of be careful about where you start so that you don't end up across your line. Bless you. Remember that they are to be separate, and they are to be as close to the same as possible. They should also start at the same place. Okay? So for the moment, we're done with our Saturday. Now before this, we used to, all right, find the puzzle piece and go. But we have a second ratio that we need to take care of. We have our after ratio. So if you look, our after ratio, it's Sunday night, the ratio of occupied to unoccupied is now 6 to 1. Double check, make sure they're in the same order. They're occupied first and then unoccupied. Don't let them trick you by flipping them on you. It can happen. So basically we have 6 occupied and 1 unoccupied on Sunday. And you're going to draw. These chunks should be the same size as the chunks on the left because it's all equal parts, equal size rooms. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, as best you can. I see I didn't do the best job, but try to make them as close to being exactly the same as possible. Yep. Okay, so now we've got our ratio written down, labeled, drawn with our tape, right? Just like we've done before, except we just had to do it twice. Now we're ready for the puzzle piece. This puzzle piece is going to be a little bit trickier because really there's a whole bunch of places it could be. All right? It could be a Saturday piece, it could be a Sunday piece, it could be an all-together piece, it could be a different piece on Saturday, a different piece on Sunday. So you have to read that puzzle piece very carefully and figure out where it goes. So, who can help me with my puzzle piece? What part of that question is the puzzle piece, Ever? You got it. 432 occupied on Sunday. So you need to go to Sunday. You need to go to the occupied tape and make that worth 432. Okay, you got to go to Sunday. Make sure you have the right day and the right spot. And then put your puzzle piece. You don't have your puzzle piece in the right place. I don't see a puzzle piece. But you have to draw it here. Why don't you turn your desk a little bit so you can see me a little bit better. Okay, so now we're going to use our puzzle piece, right? We have 6 squares, so we're going to divide that by 6. I will allow you to use calculators tonight. You're not going to write this minute. I'm going to do the math. But I want to show you. This is where I'm going to show you how to show your work using a calculator. Okay? Because you're going to divide. To do this work, you're going to do 432 divided by 6, right? You're going to, you don't need to show me all of the long division steps. But if you use a calculator, you still need to write that part down, and then after you type it in, write the answer. You cannot have a 72 magically show up on the paper. But you can say, well, I started with 432, divided it by 6, and I got 72. This is what I mean by showing your work with a calculator. Or you could write it this way. Like if you were to do the work, you could do it this way, but I really prefer this. No, actually it's not, but it's not, but if you can use a calculator, your best bet is to use it. But again, you have to show me the work. So this is what I mean by showing the work. I'm not expecting the whole long division, but I am expecting the equation that you're using here, okay? So that means 72 goes in every box. Every box. Because the whole point here is the rooms are the same size. The chunks are the same size. All right, I got to open this, guys. I know it's kind of loud out here, but my blower's not on, so it's hot in here. We need some air. It's open. The window's open, but I got my new blower last night, but it's not on, so we're not getting any air in here at all. What did I just say? They did it. Well, I helped them. I moved the dictionaries and stuff, but they did the rest. It was just that one chunk, so it wasn't too bad. Okay, we good? Everybody's got their puzzle piece figured out? All right, so now there's a million questions I could ask you for this, right? I could ask you how many total rooms it has. I could ask you what's the change, like how many rooms that, you know, have turned from unoccupied to occupied. I could ask you a million questions using all of that. And you could use that to figure it out. But we need to answer the question that they want to know, which is, how many unoccupied rooms does it have on Saturday? So this tape right here is the answer to the question. So again, just like I just showed you, you can use a calculator if you want, but you still have to write that down. Okay? It's 360, by the way. So 360, shh, quiet, rooms. Okay? If you choose to use a calculator, you got to write that whole equation down. You got to tell me how you got that 360. It doesn't just appear out of nowhere. No. You're just going to cross it off. You're not going to do that one on that paper. You're not going to do it twice. Just cross the space off because it's part of your notes. Not a big deal. Okay? Questions about before and after tapes. Okay? We're just kind of upping the skill a little bit here. We're making 2 tapes and we're making it a little more complicated. The puzzle piece? It shouldn't be. All right, turn your notes paper over to the back, please. We're going to do one more question together. This time I actually left the question on the page, although it is very tiny. So if you can't read the tiny one, then you can use the homework page. It's the same question. Nope. All right, reader for number 2, ever, nice and loud. Everybody's following along. Remember, you're looking for, first of all, you're thinking, is it a 1 ratio thing or is it a change? Because if it's a change, we're going to do the T diagram. And yes, I already gave you a hint, but still, you need to figure it out on your own. Is it a change? If it's a change, what are the 2 ratios? And then, what's the puzzle piece? What's the question? Joshua, no more, please. All right, Everett's going to read nice and loud. You're following along, trying to pick out those pieces.
It worked out by completing sit-ups and push-ups in order to gain muscle mass. Originally, Peter was completing 5 sit-ups for every 3 push-ups, but then he injured his shoulder. After the injury, Peter completed the same amount of exercises as he did before his injury, but completed 7 sit-ups for every 1 push-up. During a training session after his injury, Peter completed 8 push-ups. How many push-ups was Peter completing before his injury?
Okay. One important little piece of information they threw in here was, does Peter completed the same amount of exercises? That's just telling you that you can use those equivalent chunks and it will work. Okay? Also, I meant to point out in the last one, did you notice that there were 7 chunks on each side? Okay? Yep. That's important. You have to have that same thing. So they're telling you that this is going to work by saying the same amount of exercises. Okay? So the whole situation is saying before and after, right? Before he got injured, after he got injured. So it's definitely going to be a 2-tape, 2 setup with a before and after chart. So put before and after. And this time it actually is really before and after. Before his injury, after his injury. But if it's not, you should label it, like the one we did first, the Saturday, Sunday. Okay? Label, label, label. It'll keep you figured out. And so, originally, he was completing 5 sit-ups for every 3 push-ups. So the original label was 5, or the original ratio was 5 to 3. 5 sit-ups, 3 push-ups. Remember, don't switch them. Keep them in the same order. Find a simple label. So I have S and P. Okay? And then you're going to draw the tapes. So far, just like we've done, keeping them the same. And then, now we're going to do the after. 7 sit-ups for every 1 push-up. So now it's 7 to 1. And notice they're going to add up to 8, both of them. So they have 8 chunks. So it's 7 sit-ups and 1 push-up. Now you're going to need to try to make these boxes the same as much as you can. I know that 7 is bigger, and you might have some trouble. I know I'm going to. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, making them identical, but try to make them identical. Obviously, you guys have a little more room than I do. Okay, don't move things around. Don't change their location to make it longer or shorter. Leave them. I want to see a T chart. Before on the left, after on the right. You need to keep them in the same order. So if you cannot fit your squares, figure something out. Go back, erase them, something. Okay? And notice too that I've been starting my tapes on the same spot, so that I can tell just by looking which one's longer or shorter. All right? So, who can tell me the puzzle piece? Who can tell me the puzzle piece? Jared. Okay, where does it go though? You have to tell me more. That's part of it. Start with the whole sentence. After. That's important. So after his injury, 8 push-ups. So actually that kind of makes this one pretty easy, right? Because it's only 1. So there's no dividing involved or whatever? So all squares are worth 8. Make sure you put the arc so that you show me where you applied the puzzle piece. And again, I could ask you 100 different questions probably using this information. Okay? But you need to answer the question they're asking for, which is, how many push-ups was Peter completing before his injury? So this is your question, and you still need to write 8 times 3 equals 24. So he was completing 24 push-ups before. I could ask you things like how many fewer push-ups is he doing after? I mean, you can do anything. You can answer any question with this diagram. Yep. Yep. If I wanted you to change, I could have you erase all the 8s, and I could change that part of it, but the rest of the ratio would all be the same. Okay, that's why these tapes really work well, because they're very flexible. All right? Questions about this question? Everybody's good with this question? All right, on your homework paper, you do not need to do the first 2 because we just did them. So if you want to just put a little X in the space. However, the rest of the paper is our homework, including the 2 on the back. What I want you to do is do numbers. So there's actually 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 questions. Yes, I know those back ones are numbered differently, but what I want you to do is I want you to do question number 3, gentlemen. I'm going to put question number 3 up on the screen, completed. I want you to do it, and then I want you to make sure that you're doing it correct by checking yourself with mine. If you're doing it right, you may continue with your homework. If you're still having some issues, then we can talk and we can figure it out. Remember that these are all relatively simple calculations. There shouldn't be any decimals or really weird numbers. So if you're getting something really weird, you must have done something wrong. If you do not have your calculator in the room, I have the bucket of calculators on the back table. You may borrow one of mine. You may use the calculators for the entire homework. But you've got to show me the work. Okay, well, before we get started, Nathan, what is your question? Yes, it should. Yes, that is a good question. Yes, for this time, all the homework will be T-charts, but eventually, I'm not going to tell you. You're going to have to figure it out by reading the question. But today, they're all going to be T-charts, and I want to see T-charts. I don't want to see anything different, any different format. That T-chart really lends itself to a before and an after. Okay? Any other questions? Yes, sir. No, if you can write small enough, you're welcome to do it on that paper. If you would prefer to do it on notebook paper, you're welcome to it. Okay, I'm going to leave that up to you. You do not have to. I didn't make these, so there isn't as much room as I would have left, but if you can do it, go for it. Yes, ma'am. No, it is not. It needs to look like mine. Any other questions? Remember, yours looks like mine. Okay? Yes, the numbers might be different, the number of boxes, but overall, if yours isn't looking like mine, then it's not correct, and you need to go back. Okay? All right, I'm going to put that paper up, so make